everybody, I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life, or stacyforlife.com. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. You can also find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under just Stacy Reinick. So last week we talked about that's what people do. What brought that on was because, when we were out and able to get out and about and go to work and do activities, we were able to talk about what other people were doing and able to see what other people were doing. But now everybody's on social media or what have you. Not everybody, but many people are on social media and stuff, and they're still talking about what people do. And so somebody said something to me about people talking about what people do on social media, and I said that's what people do, because in our humanness, that is what people do, is they talk about what other people are doing. But we have this opportunity now because of this global crisis to go within. Distracting ourselves with what other people do has been something that we've done for a long time. But now that we're in the houses, some people alone, some people with people that are driving them crazy, we have an opportunity to go within and to find out what we really want to do. Because of that uncertainty, we don't know if we're returning to the same jobs. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know. So we get this opportunity. So I wanted to share these steps with you that maybe they would help you too. They are by no means a substitute for recovery if you need a recovery program. You may be deciding now that you're cooped up in the house and not able to go out that you are addicted to something. So I'm going to share my journey with you just a little bit to start this off. And if you like that that's our topic today, I hope that you'll hit the like and subscribe button below. So in 1990, I had a friend who had a really bad drug problem. I did drugs too, but I didn't have a bad drug problem because, you see, I esteemed myself by people who had worse problems than me. Hence, I would look like I had my shit together, right? So we went to the fellowship to try to help him get off of drugs. And while I looked at the people in the room, and I didn't think I was like those people in the room, because I really did think that I had my shit together, I looked at the steps on the wall and I thought these steps might be helpful. I even tried to work those steps by myself and everything, but I kept getting high. So addiction is a continuing and progressive disease. So by 1997, I realized, dang, I'm an addict. So I planted that seed. So whether or not you need this now or need it later, you know somebody who does, I'm offering it to you. And also just as a way of survival through this global crisis that we're dealing with today, because these steps have helped me in many different areas of my life now, so that I can live them and have them in me. They're just ingrained in me, but it took practice, because anytime that I came up with a challenge that sometimes would send people to using, then and what does using look like? We're going to talk more about that, but it could be, there's programs now for food, there's programs for drug addiction, of course there's alcohol is the mothership of it all. And then we've had, there's just all kinds of groups. So you can find a place if you want to. This is just kind of an introduction thing. Like I said, not a substitute, because there's no replacement for recovery in the room. So this is not a replacement. This is just an awareness, just like this, a seed, if you need it. I'm not trying to recruit people, because it's a program about attraction rather than promotion. So at the same time, I'm not trying to promote people. I'm trying to tell you how this worked for me and how you can get through this global crisis through implementing the principles that we learned in these steps, and to incorporate it into your life. Because I have many people stop me and say, Stacy, how do you do this? How do you do the other? And maybe they're not addicts. Maybe they don't need to come in the room. And I'm happy to tell them, because I just want to make this world a better place. What about you? So what are you doing? So last week when we talked about that's what people do, we talked about those first 3 steps, because those really come from the mind. That's the first step is that we admitted we were powerless and our lives were unmanageable. And in this time of uncertainty, many people feel that their lives are powerless and unmanageable. And then the second step calls us to come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. Many of us feel pretty insane right now. We don't know what we're going to do with our time. What are we going to do when we come out of this? And then the third step is that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, that's the second step. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. The third step is we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. So, God's source, the all, even just your own health right now is your wealth. Because if you've got your health right now, you can survive this. Because there's people who have a lot of wealth, but they can't buy their health, So just kudos to you. If you've got your health right now, you stay healthy. So that's the first 3 steps. That's the mental part. That's getting us ready, the foundation. And so then the next steps, 4 through 9, is what we're going to talk about today. Those are the body parts, what I would call the body, because anything that we do to ourselves, I believe, is recorded in our bodies. It's recorded in our consciousness. It's recorded in our soul. It's recorded in our cells. It's just recorded. Anything, they may not be visible scars, but we've got stuff inside our bodies. So we're going into the body now because we're going into the action part. We're going into the doing part. We're going to uncover some stuff so that we can live better and more fulfilled lives. But sometimes we have to dig up the dirt to, on our own self. People distract themselves all the time digging up the dirt on other people and watching the dirt on other people. But also that can be inspiring if we choose to use it in the right and correct way. So this 4th step calls us to make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So instead of looking at what other people are doing wrong, we start looking at why we're feeling that they're doing wrong, and being willing to get rid of that judgment on other people. And because when we're judging other people, we're actually judging ourselves too, because why would we feel the need to be just talking about what they're doing? Does that make sense? So we're going to dig up that stuff on ourselves, and the 4th step calls us to make a list of, we usually uncover our fears first. What were we afraid of? What was done to us? This in the beginning, it goes back to childhood. If you've worked the steps before, it's just going to go back to us. But what is it that was done to us that makes us act off of our behaviors that we're acting off of now? What were those defense mechanisms that we built up through trying not to get hurt from the pains of when we were younger and we were getting hurt? What did we do? What kind of behaviors did we pick up from that? Sometimes we patterned ourselves to act like the people that hurt us. Sometimes we tried so hard not to act like those people that it still lent that polarity of energy to where it still had bad, results and repercussions. So we uncover what it was that was done to us so that we understand what we're doing and how we harmed others with our defense mechanism behavior, and didn't act on our own true essence of who we really are underneath all of that, being able to forgive others and forgive ourselves, because it's just a united thing is what it is that, no one's getting off the hook and everything else. It's just what's right with your soul and our soul's desire for us to be united, and we will be again. So this is all in preparation for when we get to come out and be a part of society again, right? So we're going to look at those behaviors. What our defense mechanisms they ended up turning out to be self-seeking, self-serving, self-sabotaging behaviors. And we thought that people were doing stuff to us, but we were actually perpetuating some of it. I'm not saying the stuff when we were kids. I'm talking about our behaviors as we got older. We look at our fears of abandonment in this step, and things like that. So some of the things we did to try to keep people from abandoning us actually made them abandon us. That's insanity. Once we realize, we're uncovering this. So that's what we look at in the 4th step. But the 5th step calls us, we admitted to ourselves, to God, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Now, y'all, this isn't a blaming step. You're not going to go tell people because you did this, I did this. We're getting rid of our reactions. We're learning how to unlearn those old behaviors that caused us pain and harm. So this is somebody like, you could have your sponsor preferably, if you're in a program, that you have a sponsor, but not everybody needs a program. So like I said, I'm not trying to recruit people. Some people just like the principles, so if you have a life coach, if you're at a time in your life where you know that you just need change, you have a life coach, or clergy. Those are people too that you can tell this stuff to. Somebody who's unbiased, doesn't have an opinion, isn't going to be judging, that they're going to be a compassionate person to listen to and help you find the things in your character that are of value that you can build and grow off of, but the things that are in your character that you can compassionately let go of, that they no longer serve you anymore. So once you do that and talk to that person with that, you're still going to hold on to those names, okay? So then you get to the 6th step, and you were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Well, underneath those fears are the defects of character. That's like, if you don't feel good enough, you're going to feel jealousy, insecurity, fear of abandonment, and those kind of things are going to be the underlying thing under that fear. And when we get jealous, we act out. So the next step calls us to look at Humbly ask God to remove these shortcomings. So the shortcomings are the ways that we act out off of those fears. So if you're jealous and then you give somebody the business because they looked or talked to somebody else, then you're trying to control them, which is another defect of character, is controlling behavior. And how you try to control them is giving them the business, thinking that they're going to learn how to act right if they push you off. But the real deal is if you're a pissed off person, people don't want to hang around with you. Just like I said last week, if you're micromanaging people, they don't want to hang around you. And it's funny how we think that we're going to teach somebody a lesson or that they're not going to do that. And what we're doing is going into the codependency part to where we're expecting them to act right to make ourselves feel better. You are a grown person, you get to make choices now. And you can choose to be with a person who may look at somebody, but are they really looking at them with lust, or are they just looking at them because they're just looking at them? Because sometimes people get pissed at people just for looking and listening to somebody else, and they may not even have any kind of hidden agenda, which cause you to look at your own intentions and motivations for your behaviors. So that's what steps 6 and 7 call for, is for you to look at your own intentions and your own motivations for your behavior. And so what they told me on my 7th step is to do the opposite of what I would normally do, because that was my shortcoming, right? How I acted out. That's not to deny how I was feeling, but to remember who I really was. And sometimes that meant on the 6th step, going to the bathroom, telling myself I am good enough. Because if I'm feeling inadequate, what do I need to do for myself to make myself feel more adequate? It's not what somebody outside of me can do to make me feel more adequate. So these are the responsibility steps, as you're learning how to take responsibility. So the 7th step says, your shortcomings. So how did you act before? So after you go to the bathroom and tell yourself, I am good enough, it's not to be spiteful to go talk to other people. You're not going to do that like we did when we were 14, 15 years old. We're going to go talk to other people and stay in our business. This is what I call staying in your business. So you'll go talk to other people instead of micromanaging somebody, looking and watching who they're talking to and for how long. You go and enjoy the party yourself, or whatever you're doing, the hangout, whatever you're doing yourself, and meet other people. Not other people to get in a relationship, other people. Just talk to other people. They can be interesting too. It's not being limited. See, that's what these steps do, is they free you from limitations. They're truly the freedom steps. So after you've done that work, we look at step 8. Step 8 says we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So again, like I say, that goes from your 4th step, is that the people that you harmed on your 4th step due to your self-defense mechanisms and stuff like that, those things that you did, that were learned behaviors that you're needing to unlearn now. So it's very important when you go on to the next step to have a sponsor, a clergy, or a life coach. You do not just go into a room or hear me talking about these steps and be like, oh, I'm going to make amends to people and be all right, because that's not what we do. But there's many people come in the rooms and they're ready to get on that amends step before they work step 1. We say these steps are in order for a reason. And they are. It's developing that character. You're, recovering, rediscovering your soul, because that's what we're going to get into in steps 10, 11, and 12, is you being able to get back to your consciousness and your soul level, because we were human doings before. But once you get into your soul level, you can actually participate in the human being part, getting to know who you are, because oftentimes in codependency, we've depended on other people to tell us who we are. We've even done things to define ourselves as other people, but now you're at this crisis time to where you can define yourself. And this is a good process to do so. It's not the only process, and not everybody needs this kind of thing. And like I said, I'm just hoping that this will plant a seed of some sort. If you do have addiction issues, I hope that you'll seek out the recovery group that you can have, that will help you with that, because the diseases manifest in a variety of ways. These skills will help even if somebody's just gossiping. If you've been playing a part in gossip, it doesn't make your soul feel good, because then you've got to worry about if somebody else is going to find out what you said about them, and if it's true and if it's real, and even if it is true, it might be hurtful to them, right? So having all that plethora of feelings does not feel good, does it? No, it does not. And so it's a growth experience. You get to choose how to behave differently. Instead of when you do go back to work, you don't have to participate in gossip. You can be like, I'm not hearing this. That's what I do when people start gossiping to me, is I'm like, I'm not hearing this, and I walk off. I'm just not participating. I'm not trying to make a judgment on the people that are gossiping. I'm not telling them shame on them or anything else. If that's they're kind of entertainment, then that's okay, but gossiping is harmful, right? So I'm not going to participate in that. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to contact me at stacyreinick@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instant Messenger on Facebook or Instagram or whatever have you under Stacy Reinick. It's my pleasure to be able to help people. That's what I'm here to do. Is I'm trying to lift everybody's consciousness and give everybody hope. And I hope that this has been able to do that for you. Again, we've worked on the mind with the first section. This was the body, and then next is the second section, the soul. That's really our hope shot. So I hope that you'll join me again next week. And I wish you much love and much peace, and to be well. Thank you. It's not want to stop.